My name is Sara Mahoney. I'm the founder of Kindred Strategic, and I help SMEs, mostly in oil and gas and renewable energy and software, come to the US and grow and scale. And then when we moved to Texas, and first I worked on behalf of other agencies, and then I found that I wanted the freedom to be able to choose the suppliers that I thought, or the providers that I thought were the best fit for the clients that I had. One of the things that brought me to Melissa was because the first 6 to 12 months was, well, there was a lot of learning, it was a lot of fun, but there was quite a lot of imposter syndrome as well. And on top of that, there was a recognition that when you have an SME, which is why I like working with them actually, everything is up to you. So it's not just whether you're good at marketing and strategy, practice, but then you also have to be good at accounting, you have to be good at sales, you have to be good at pipeline management. And there's an awful lot of skills that I relied on other people to do before. IT, is definitely one of them. When my husband and daughter became my IT managers, and I suddenly really missed working for a big company. When I had worked for other people and for bigger companies, I had to think about project management, but I'd never really had to worry how much time I was investing in something and what the cost would be. I was looking at costs from supplier points of view and from value to us as a larger company. But when I was on the other side and charging out my own time, I found it really difficult, to judge how much time it would take. And sometimes I underestimated by quite some way. But then also, especially with things that I found easier myself, so where I had the skills, sometimes I find it difficult to recognize how much value that actually created for the customer. So it was difficult to set realistic budgets that covered my time and were essential to the client and didn't undervalue me as a provider. I'd sort of reached out to a couple of people and I'd read something online saying you should learn from other people, you should look for a mentor. But actually, mentoring is great. I'm really lucky in that I have a few people that sort of do that anyway, who sort of stepped into that position almost without me asking, which is wonderful. But actually, I needed skills and I needed somebody that I could, text and say, I've got this proposition or this proposal to do. I have no idea what I should be putting in it in terms of my time. I don't know how to post it. And sometimes that can feel really lonely as well. I think what you don't realize when you become an independent consultant is that you can have lots of suppliers who are friends and you can have customers who are friends, but it is quite lonely when everything rests on your head. So um, I think I suddenly decided that what I needed was a coach. I needed to learn some skills. And that's when I started to investigate who was out there. I think I found her just on an internet search and I read something on her website and then I downloaded, I think she's got like some sort of help guide. And the minute I sort of read 1 or 2 pages, it was almost like I'd written it in order with pain points and do you recognize yourself? And I was like, yes, yes. And then I did listen to a couple of her episodes, the ones that really resonated with me. There's one that talks about how you need to avoid seeing yourself as a salaried employee and how that sort of messes up your value and what you charge. And when I listened to that, I just thought I really need her help. And then when I met her, I found her so easy to talk to. So it wasn't a difficult decision. There were sort of almost structural things like how you price out a project and what you need to consider and her focus on value as opposed to cost or time. I find that really useful. Although, admittedly, I still do trip myself up sometimes. So I've got a post-it note that says, "What is- remember Melissa's value." So one of the things that I did just automatically was try and connect people and bring people together and try and solve problems. But that's not what I was selling myself on. And I was just doing it because I could do it and because it feels good. I like to sort of bring people together. And when we were looking at my schedule and how I was planning out my day, I was sort of saying, I don't understand how I'm going to fit all these other things in. And Melissa said, well, what do you spend a lot of time doing? I said, well, talking to people. And so she left me with that. And I came back and said, well, maybe what I have to do is stop talking to so many people. And then, well, she prodded me and helped me walk through it. And it's like, well, but talking to the people is how you do something different to for your clients. Is because you've met people that you can bring together, bringing them together solves problems. And that's really what you're doing. And I thought, actually, that's really what I want to do. So, it totally turned everything on its head. It was, don't spend your days like writing loads of documents. Spend your days finding the people to solve things so that when a client comes to you, you can say to them, well, actually, I can help you. So when I went out on my own, when I started off, I thought that if I put myself out there as marketing and strategy, and I had to have all of the answers, right? So I would get really stressed if a client asked for something and I didn't have the answer. And I, almost freeze, like I could see my whole body freezing. And now I think, actually, I'm not going to, it's actually ridiculous. I say this to my daughter, and she's a teenager. You're not going to know everything. So now I know that I'm not going to know everything. And actually, I'm totally happy with somebody asking me to do something and saying, either I don't know, but I'll find out, or I don't know, but what I do know is that's not my expertise and I know somebody who can help you. And that is, oh my God, it's so liberating, that actually not having the answers isn't a sign that you're failing or less valuable. It's not that at all. It's that you're willing to go and find the answers and recognize where somebody else might bring more value or more knowledge than you have. It's very freeing to have your own business because you get to make the decisions, but then all of the bad decisions are also yours. And actually having somebody like Lisa that you can talk to and that you can say, I really just don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? And there's such a massive difference.